Based on your coaching career and being around the NBA, the last couple of years have been so tight near the end of the season where you kind of figured, okay, it's Boston in the East, maybe it's Denver in the West, but everything else was still in the air. Has this been really great for basketball in regards to intrigue in the last, month of the season, 2 weeks of the season?
I mean, I think so, Jim. I think you'd probably agree. Like, I look at the West and I say, there's not a single series, even in the first round, that I would consider like a real upset of what's going to happen. I mean, any of those teams, you're looking at, the last team in will probably be the Lakers or the Warriors as an 8 seed with LeBron James or Steph Curry. And then in the East, I would have said Boston was the only one that wouldn't be a good series. But Boston could get the 76ers with Joel Embiid in the first round. So it's going to be crazy. I think we'll get some tight series. And I don't think anything would surprise anybody.
To your point, too, in the Western Conference, it's funny is because some teams can play other teams better. Like the Clippers have an issue with Denver. Okay, they may have an issue with OKC, but then the Lakers don't have an issue with OKC, but they have an issue with Sacramento. It's like all these little intriguing storylines depending on the matchups, like you said, that will dictate kind of what happens in the Western Conference. At the end of the day, though, we know how good and dominant Denver is because of Jokic. Is there right behind it a team that you say, you know what, if they kind of get things together, they can be right there with Denver in the Western Conference Finals?
Well, the team I've looked at all year and they've disappointed lately has been the Clippers. I mean, that team is loaded, and with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on the wings, two of the best two-way players in the game. They got a great playmaker in Harden. They've got size inside. Ty Lue is a very good, very experienced coach. I think they've got talent. And then, everybody wants to count out Oklahoma City as too young and Minnesota with the Towns injury and a lack of experience. But when you do it that many times in the regular season against good teams, I don't think you can count them out. And then, look at the star power we have below that. I mean, Doncic and Kyrie Irving, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Fox and Sabonis, Durant, Booker, and Beal. These are on the bottom teams. I mean, I think it's going to be great, Jim. I think it's going to be fantastic to watch.
Well, I thought the Mavericks made some key acquisitions, of course, in key positions, especially with Gafford inside. Do you think that with those changes, that with Kyrie kind of accepting the role of Robin, so to speak, to Luka, and Luka really embracing Kyrie, that's a team that you wouldn't be surprised that could be right back in it with those two individuals plus the moves they made?
Absolutely. And I think the key thing is, Jason Kidd has said it's, their defensive improvement has fueled this run, and they have gotten better. Look, they're so good offensively. They just need to be average, maybe a little above defensively. And for a good part of the year, they were terrible defensively. But of late, they've been a top 10 defensive team. And with that, plus those two guys in the backcourt, I mean, that is going to be a tough team for anybody to beat.
Question for you. And this has been thrown around a lot too. And we don't have a crystal ball, but the state of where the Golden State Warriors are at right now. Every dynasty comes to an end at some point. Everything starts to go away. Are we, and this could be a rhetorical question, are we starting to see those fragments come apart a little bit in regards to where we once saw this Golden State team as a dominant team and always in the mix?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that dominant Golden State team is done. And so now the decisions for that front office, I think, are hard. I mean, do you go out and trade guys like Kuminga and Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis and maybe try to get more veteran help and try to make one more run with Steph Curry and then just realize you're going to be horrible when it's done? Some people have even suggested, or do you go absolutely the other way and deal Steph Curry now while he's still got a lot of value and start over? If they don't do anything, I think they're right back where they are now next year, bottom of the play-in. Hope maybe you get some luck, catch fire, and make a run in the playoffs, but not a true contender.
Well, speaking about contender, too, the Lakers kind of fall in that category. You still have AD, you still have LeBron, 10th spot. We saw what they did last year. Realistically, in your point of view, where do you see the Lakers?
Yeah, about the same place. I mean, look, the Lakers seem to me to be about the only team in the league that doesn't think shooting is important. They've got pretty good players around those two guys. They don't have any shooting, and they don't seem to really have prioritized trying to get any shooting around those guys. So, yeah, I just think that's a very mediocre team that is, relying on two great players to carry them every night. But if you're an opposing coach, there's a lot you can do, double teaming those guys and getting the ball out of their hands. And everybody else has had spurts. Reeves has had spurts in the year. D'Angelo Russell's had spurts, but nobody's proven that you can count on them every night.
Well, but how much of their salary cap restrictions limited them to really going out to find that kind of play? And who was out there in the market to go get from a shooting perspective?
That's a good point, and I'd have to think back. But, there's a lot of pretty good shooters playing on minimum contracts in the league. So I don't know what they are. They're not a real good offensive team. They're not a real good defensive team. Like I said, I just think that's a mediocre team. And I think, and this happens to teams, they came out of the play-in, made it to the conference finals last year with a little bit of luck in terms of who they drew, right? Memphis without Ja Morant. And so you get that kind of luck, and it causes you to over-evaluate your roster. And so they just basically brought everybody back thinking, hey, we're a conference finals team, where my view is, no, you're a play-in team that played well at the end of the year and also got a lot of luck. I don't know that you can count on that again.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.